Alright, first tutorial ever. Figured it was a time to explain how this stuff works, hopefully as best I can. Not really good at this stuff. I'm going to try and talk as I go. I'm going to go at my own speed. Try and explain how traffic lights work, and I'm going to explain quickly how the automatic lights work in your custom map in BeamNG Drive. So let me just do the automatic lights first. But before I do that, I do want to show you my intersections, which actually have working crosswalks. I'm working on the AI. They don't actually follow the traffic, I don't think, unless maybe they do. I did put, I'll show you in a minute. I did put some controllers on here. Let me just quickly show what I'm talking about. But that might explain why the AI cars are actually, oh no, see, they're not actually working. Okay, I'm not going to show you that then. I just wanted to, I thought the AI traffic was working. But, so AI traffic is not working, but the lights actually are. So my first battle was to solve, was how to get the animations to work on each light. And I realized a few things, but yeah. So let me show you the automatic lights. That's probably the easiest first thing. So automatic lights come from this file, which is in the small island map. So I already have it extracted. I'm just going to open that. Small island, levels. So the main level.ilua, that's in the small island map. So if I open that with Notepad+, and we look at it, all this is doing is basically disabling a group in your scene tree. So this group in small island is named harbor lights. So on my map, all I did was take that I just took the whole file and I just renamed everything that said harbor lights to reflect my actual group, which is in my scene tree, which is massive, but it is called auto lights, auto_lights, right here. I'm so terrible at tutorials, but that is I'm going to show you the file. So that's what it was, harbor lights. Let me show you my folder, which would be, I just took it right here. So here's mine, my map, figure 8 test. Well, look, auto_lights is right there. And that's it. So that basically will disable all lights, or really all objects in that group between the hours of this time and this time. So I actually even went a little bit further and I put more than just lights. I actually have some sound blocks in here which, to the best of my knowledge, do appear to disable themselves during the day. They're like frogs and different nighttime animal effects I have like in the bushes. So they do seem to only enable at night, which is kind of cool. And you can probably extend that even further and put other objects in there. I haven't really tested it any further, but lights work. Those sounds appear to work. So that's cool. So that's how you do the automatic lights. And I figured this is a cool time to actually show you the automatic lights real quick. Time, off, or enabled, and disabled. So they just disappear basically. And the same is for my track lights, which look like this. Cool, huh? So on to the traffic lights. It has been, I'm actually struggling to actually explain it. So I'm going to try my best on this. This one's going to take a while. I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and edit this. But so traffic lights traffic lights. Good old freaking traffic lights. You don't even know how long this took. Let me show you another intersection I made. This is kind of cool. Got another working guy here. Those will go. I've been struggling to find ways to make 2-lane roads. It is very hard. And the fact that the AI doesn't work makes it even harder. But the animations do work. So if you're just driving, like say you had a server, what have you, it looks pretty real. Some of these cars hit poles and stuff, but they seem to be working. But that's cool. I'm gonna have to actually. Okay, it's getting daytime, which is actually good. But yeah, so I got these 2 lights. That's cool. So we're gonna try to show how I got them to save, because if I went through this whole process, I could add them all, you know, with the traffic manager. And when I reload a map, it doesn't actually keep my signals. It doesn't save them. So when you do this way, it might actually become messed up. I think I had 11 of them. And I had a very assortment of names, but I took the signals file that I saved and I moved it over to my main level folder. So I don't think that creating these now actually changes anything or hurts anything. I think that information now is baked into the file, which is driving the animations on the lights. But I'm kind of in my beginning stages of testing, and truth be told, I haven't done that until now, but that hasn't changed anything. Before, I would go through this process and everything, all my lights would stop working or they would hang. You know, they would hang on yellow or green or what have you. But in this case, it actually did save my file and it took the changes, so I'm going to try and run through the whole scenario and like explain that. Alright, so to solve the traffic light dilemma, we're going to go to East Coast. And I'm going to quickly try to explain what you do to get traffic lights. Say you want these or whatever assets from here into your map. So if I pull over my inspector, and I'm sorry, this is not a comprehensive tutorial. I'm going to be fumbling, I'm going to be stuttering and going over trying to remember everything that I know along with kind of trying to explain the process. But so we're starting with the shape name, which is this, and you can see where it's at in the levels folder. So it's in buildings, and my map directory is really bad, but to get this over, it's actually pretty simple. So in order to kind of show what this is doing, so you can see dynamic. So this is how I kind of like figured out why my animations were working. Because I was able to get the lights over, but it just wanted to change. It just came over, and the materials looked like this. Oh, so like you can actually change these temporarily, but the cycle script will actually disable them from working. So if I duplicated this, and I was actually testing a few things, but see how it changes. So if I hit that and I duplicate it, the script will somehow maintains it. Oh no, I'm sorry, it doesn't maintain it. It doesn't maintain the cycle script, but stays on the last. See how it stayed on the instant color that it was? So that's what that would do if it duplicated it. But I can get this guy working if I go to Window, Gameplay, Traffic Signals Editor, and I take, which light is that? So he's on traffic light 2. So if I, in addition to, so here's the list of all the objects that are on traffic light 2 in the traffic signals editor. If I add this guy, so him, and I don't know why it groups them like that. I don't know. There's a lot of things I still don't know about it, but a few things I have uncovered. But so if I add this guy, all I do is basically hit that, and we'll just hit confirm selection. And you should see updated. I'm not going to save the change, but if you could do file save, which I think updates the signal file in the main root folder, but we'll go over that shortly. Now let me see. I think if I reload the game, it'll probably work. So let's see. Is this dynamic? Yeah. What if sometimes if you mess with these, nope. Let's see. I think if I reload the game, they probably won't work. Let's try and reload the game. And I did save it. So I don't care about East Coast. I've removed so many decals from East Coast. It's crazy. Let's see if it even works. Looks hopeful. Let's see. I have to wait for the... Oh, what happened to all my... Oh, there you go. Yeah. Is that the one I just copied? I can't even tell. These aren't supposed to be here. I think that's the one I just copied. Anyway, in theory, that's how it works in East Coast is you can add it to your traffic manager, gameplay, traffic signal editor. So traffic light 2, you can see has the 2 arrows. And if you look at an object in the inspector window... Oh, where's the signal? Oh, man. Okay, mate. So in order, if you have an issue with it selecting, sometimes you won't be able to see the ID in the inspector window if you have the signals editor open. So just close that, get rid of it, make sure you're in object select, click the guy. Now see how I have an ID 18455? That's my ID for that signal. 18440. It's really just like an object ID, I guess. But they are unique. So if I go to my gameplay traffic signals editor, I should be able to see. Sometimes they group them, which is weird. I haven't wrapped my head around that. But why, is that 18455, 18440, so they're both in that group, I think. Oh, yeah. So that's essentially what drives them, I guess you could say. And if you look in the East Coast, if I go to East Coast and I see signals, so if I look at this file in Notepad+, I can see all the controller information that is saved right here. See? And these sequences are driving these lights. So, I mean, that is what's driving the animation. But actually, if you look at the, I'm going to move this off. Move my scene tree off. So if you look at what's stopping the AI traffic light 1, that's essentially an instance of traffic light 1. And you can tell it's placed right on the stop line. So if I look at traffic light 1 under my signals, there it is. But for the life of me, I haven't really been able to figure out what's driving the AI traffic to stop. So, but I solved the animations, but I'm not sold that it's not the animations that's making that AI cars stop at this line until it turns, green. So, because you can tell it's green, it's green. Oh, I didn't update. If you go to edit, rebuild collision, I moved that traffic light and the car thought it was still there. Anyway, now it won't. But anyway, I was saying that what's stopping the AI cars for the light isn't the animation, it's something else. So I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's not the animation itself, because all that's driving the animation is the signals, which is driving the inspector window color on the light. So the light the signal is driving these little instance colors. But yeah. And then another cool thing is if I go to my traffic, I can go to this little traffic manager. If I go to here, the window that pops up, oh, where did it go? Oh boy, there it is, okay. So the window that pops up when I hit this guy right here is this window. And if I hit the Views Advanced Editor, that will just pull up this window, which is essentially the same. This window is the same as if I went to Window, Gameplay, Traffic Signals Editor. That's this window. So I can get to this window from this little guy, Traffic Lights, and the Traffic Manager, or I can go to Window, Gameplay. So there's two ways to get into this. This is like the advanced Traffic Manager window, I guess you could say, but they both appear to have different functionality. I'm hoping to go over that a little bit. But that's kind of how I got to this point. And another cool thing I did want to show before I cut this part of the video, move these off. I wanted to show if you're trying to move these to your map, what it would take. So let me just close those to clear up the screen. I don't know why that thing wants to group. Okay. So I close the traffic window. Now I can select just one. So I want to show you how these are actually getting pulled into the game real quick, just so you're not like completely lost when I'm like doing this. But if I go to Window, Material Editor, so you can see my Material Editor, and if I open in Shape Editor, there's my Shape Editor. So there's my shape. Let me go to Material. So here's all the materials that drive this material traffic light in your level. So, oh man, yeah, it's going numb. But the so if I go to materials up on the left here, you can see those are just the same materials, and it's kind of cool because it gives you like a little color. Oh, that's the pole. That's something else. But the what's driving the traffic light animation itself is this material, which is not in a material JSON file. I can't find where this material is referenced. I can only imagine it's probably referenced in a core directory somewhere, but it's not referenced in any material JSON. All of these others are. So when you move your traffic light over to your map, you just have to have LED vertical, not that one, that's soft collision. I think that's also probably part of a core file, but LED vertical, ECA building concrete, ECA traffic lights, ECA building clean metal. You'll want a material file with those in it. And I'll show you the easiest way to get that over actually, which is actually super easy. So if I look at levels, East Coast, this guy right here, let me just move this over, try to. Oh boy, let me close this, I don't need that. So if I take East Coast, was it levels, East Coast, art, shapes, buildings, art, shapes, buildings. So if I go there, and I look for ECA traffic high EW, so I'll just type traffic. So these are all my traffics for that. So the CDAEs, you don't have to copy those to your map. Honestly, you really could just copy all of the DAE files only. So if I went like this, right? I took all the, here I'll just say traffic. If we're just talking about lights. I mean, you could just take everything in that directory, but I'm just worried about the lights. So traffic, let's just take just that one, I guess. I guess we'll just look at that one. ECA traffic high underscore EW. So that's right. So I think that's this one. So as you can see, there's a CDAE, which we never need CDAEs. I believe BeamNG creates those on its own. It's like a temporary file. If you're making a custom map, all you need is the DAE file and the information that's in the material JSON file. Now, if you want to have the materials themselves in your map, you would need the material files. But if you just take the material JSON, it will point itself to your original game directory. Now, if they change something in the map folder, like with an update on the game, that could break your materials, but for the sake of getting it into your map quickly, the quickest method is just to go to your, so let me just copy that. Well, I'm not even going to copy that. I already have that in my map. So if you just take the DAE file by itself, which is this one, I think, judging by this entry. If you take that file and then you look at the main material, all you need is the main materials that are associated with that file. Now, so the DAE, if I look at it, right click, I'm going to edit with Notepad+, because you can actually edit or look at like the code in the DAE file. Like if you're not sure what it is, you can actually open up the DAE, look at the edit with Notepad++, and I have solved many issues this way. And what you look at, this will tell you what materials are driving the object to appear in game correctly. Like if it says, oh, no material, that means that your material JSON is missing something. So when you look there, if you scroll to the bottom, all the way down to the bottom, there's a huge chunk underneath the mesh vertices stuff. Don't worry about that. Just right down here. Where is it? There it is, material. Yeah, these guys. So these are your materials in the DAE file that it will be looking for, when loading the game. So if I look, actually, it could be a cool little thing to show you real quick, is when you look at the shape editor, material editor, you can see these materials are referenced right here. So that can kind of help you troubleshoot if you're like, oh my goodness, I can't figure out something, or why isn't something working, Why does it say no material? Well, what material does it need? This one looks like 4, and you can tell they all have their own UV maps. I'm not even going to bother going into that with you guys. I mean, I can try and make a video on that, how to properly UV map and bake, your object to get it in there, but I'm not going to do that right now, although that is very fun. We're just focusing on the materials that drive the traffic lights. So that is how that works. Oh yeah, the material JSON file, they didn't even show that. That's what I was trying to show you. So if I look for the main material file in my original East Coast, just edit that with Notepad. So you can see these materials will be in here. Should be. Sometimes they're not in that same material file. Sometimes you have to dig for them. Like it could be in a whole nother directory. Like if you're looking at something that's on a road, the material could be metal cladding, which is actually in the buildings folder. So if you're not seeing the material that you need, it should be a material file somewhere. There's a few that I've never found, like for some reason, instanced underscore traffic light. I've looked everywhere. That material JSON does not exist in any game folder anywhere in the game. But so that's why I'm thinking it must be a part of a core file. I haven't searched core files, but I don't mess with core files. So yeah, the base of the material file will be there, and when you open it, you can see main material with Notepad right here. If I look for, let's say, clean metal, the first one, that should be in here somewhere. Control F, clean metal, right there. So there's your material. Now, when I copy these over, just a quick tip. You take from the comma, squiggly close bracket, comma, and up, and you skip the squiggly close bracket, comma that's above the starting line. So if I wanted to move this material to my file, and that was all I wanted to move, I would just copy this and paste it into my material JSON file. So that's what's essentially driving them. Concrete, same thing. LED vertical. That's probably in another material file, but ECA underscore traffic lights. That's just the texture that's actually on them. That's not the animation itself. The animation is actually instanced underscore traffic light, which is a different, that's not even like, that's not in here. So there was a couple of other things. Let me show you that. So let me show you this. There is one entry in the material file that I found I do need, which is traffic light. No underscore, it's just called traffic light. This little entry right here, it seems to be, where was it? Yeah, this was at the end of the material file, and I found this and solved a bunch of issues by copying this over. And the issues I just solved were just really relating to the animations only. So this entry, you can see the animation flag right here. That seems to drive. That seems to help drive. Now, this entry, the traffic cycle.png, for some reason, the East Coast map has that pointed to a traffic cycle PNG that's in your Italy folder, but it does also exist in the East Coast folder, so I don't know why they have it there as well. Like, this can't even, I don't think I can open it. I can try GIMP, but I'm not going to bother opening it. This is just a traffic cyclic line. It'll cycle through that. However that's driving it, I don't know, but that PNG texture file exists in East Coast, but for some reason the material is actually pointing to Italy, and that PNG also exists in the Italy folder. It seems a little redundant, so I don't know why they have it in both locations, but it does work if I copy the PNG to my own map folder, and if I do that, you'd want to change this map name to whatever your map name is, but or you can just path it. You can just keep it as is and path it to Italy. It doesn't really matter. If you want it in your folder, it's probably best that you keep it in all the stuff in your folder, because if they change anything, I've had things break. But that's it. So traffic light material files, traffic light material entries in the JSON that govern the animations, and also the material files that govern the materials of the traffic lights themselves. So you have two things, right? So I think I explained that, and hopefully pretty good. So we're going to move on to the finale. The finale. All right. For the finale, we're going to try to do a new intersection using everything I know. And I haven't actually done this, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. But the idea is we're going to pull some new lights and some stuff over to a new spot and build it and see if we can get them to also save the animation when we relaunch the game. I will show you the ideology behind it. Why is this thing off? Yep. For some reason that was incorrect. I had to fix that. Sorry. Alright. So. Oh boy. Alright. Save that. So yeah. That's how you make a map, man. When you're making a map, you get to a point and you can just like watch these cars drive by. Oh, you just ran a red light. Yeah, and where's he gonna go? They don't work at all. Oh boy. Oh. Well. Someday I hope to get my AI cars proper. Seems like they drive for a little bit and then just start. I don't know. I've tried everything. It's from, I don't know. Decal roads are all set to 1. Not sure why they're not following 100% of the time, but sometimes they do follow it. You'd be surprised. Sometimes they actually do better than you'd expect. Oh, you're gonna stop in the middle. Okay. Anyway, let's try and build an intersection. Gosh, this video is gonna be a lot longer than I thought. I don't know. It's just so fun. Sometimes you get wrapped up watching these cars driving around. Alright. Let's see if we can migrate to a new section here, and then I'll show how I'm gonna actually pull these over. Did I do this one yet? Oh, I guess I didn't. No, that's another intersection. I already set them up, but I didn't actually stage the lights, so I'll do that on my own. I kind of wanted to show how to bring in a pole. My goodness. This material's broken. I've tried to fix that a few times. I have to fix that someday. Alright, anyway, let's go to my intersection right here. These guys are so dumb. Anyway, we're going to start by deleting some stop signs. Probably fast forward some of this. Alright, so if I went to Window, Asset Browser, Window, Asset Browser, and I pull up this guy, and I go to where my light poles are, which on mine are in shapes, buildings. If I just type traffic, they all have traffic in the name, which is kind of cool. Luckily their naming is good. East Coast, I put them in there. So I'll delete the search. You can see my East Coast folder just so you see it. It's got everything. All I did was copy the DAE file and the main material file from East Coast, and I plopped it into a brand new folder under buildings. That folder is searchable in my asset browser. So now all I have to do is pull that in game, and all the materials should be working. I already know they work because I've been building a map. But traffic, we're just gonna see what our options are. I want to show you that. So we have this guy, which is cool. This guy, which is his better half. This guy. So this one I'm not gonna worry about because you can tell the animation isn't controllable. I'm not gonna use these. You could probably use these with like lights, you know, like the little lights. So if I went create object, you know, I'm not gonna do it, but point light, you could put that on the face and, you know, make it like different colors and good stuff like that. But this guy you can pull, so we're gonna see him. That is a CS file. I think that's a material file. And this is like the same thing, right? Oh, EW and NS. So EW and NS are actually namings related to the timing, which does not pull over in just the DAE format. So the naming scheme, I don't know what, you know, they're basically, for all arguments, are the same exact model. There's no difference between these two. It's just different names in here, so be sure to clarify that. So this guy we're not going to worry about. See how junky he looks. And this guy. Now, there is another thing I have, which is from West Coast, I thought. See if I can find it. West Coast. Dang it. Well, there were some little lights here. Maybe I can go quickly take a look at this guy. I just want to take a look and see where the level is. Figure out shapes, roads. Oh, it's roads. MT. Use my arrows here to move around the cursor. Sometimes it's janky. But MT West Coast. Shapes, roads, MT West Coast. So if I go there, shapes, roads, where's roads? So you have a road. That's not it. Where the heck? MT West Coast. I guess it's that. What's it called? What's the name of this guy? Traffic Light City 1. What the heck? Yeah, I'm getting confused. Oh. Yeah, I screwed up. Okay, so when I made this map, I have a bunch of redundant folders. Okay. So traffic. Nope. What the heck? Where's my... Let me just copy that. I can try copying this. See? I think I can go... Oh. Can I go? I don't think I can paste a file tree. Anyway, I'm just trying to find this light. And I want to show, because those are other models you can use. Let me cut the video and I'll find it. Okay, I found them. Yeah, this is why naming structures on your folders is very important. Like, for example, I failed when I made, this is my first map, by the way. I failed because when I made the map, I made kind of like buildings 2, like just redundant folder names that kind of throw me off. So anyway, I found the assets I was looking for, which are actually in roads, MT West Coast, and I have this folder twice. It's like, you know. Anyway, that's why it's important. I mean, you can condense these material JSON files into one material file and just have them in the folder where the DAE sits. But instead, I have them scattered, and I was learning, and here's where I'm at. So it's like, anyway, that's learning. But I found the file, and we're going to basically look at these over where I was making that intersection. Right here. So, as you can tell, yeah, when you bring them in, they're not animated. So, a couple of these. That's just a boom. Some poles. These are actually from West Coast. So I basically did the same thing as I did with East Coast. I took the DA files and the material file, plopped them into a new folder, just called it West Coast. Although I think it has an MT. I think I did some kind of weird export at some point. I don't know how I got the MT on the file name. I think I used another program. I was playing around a lot, but the concept is if you take those and just paste them in to a folder with the DAE and the material JSON file with those entries in it, you will be able to just click and drag these from your asset browser right onto your map, and everything will be fine as far as the material. And you'll be able to just see all that. So I have a pole. As these cars are crazy, this we're not going to use because it has only a scroll animation. Like this, for some reason, does not have any instance materials that you can use. So I'm not going to worry about this or that or that. I'm not going to explain much further why or that or that or that. We're not going to use that. We are going to use this city light. We are going to use this, not that one though. Actually, the first one only. See how it's different? City Light 2 is a no-go because it only does scrolling animations which do not save for some reason on restart, and you can't really time them, so we're not going to bother. So actually, I'll scroll that in just so we can see them all in like a little pretty little light landscape, and we can duplicate them, we can play around with them, we can do all kinds of crazy stuff with them once they're in. But for now, 2 is garbage. Overhead can be used. We're going to bring that in. Overhead, bring it up so it's not cutting into the landscape, and I don't like having objects under the landscape and just forgetting about them. That one we're not going to use because see how it's scrolling only. There's my light box. And actually, you know what? Since we're doing an intersection, I'm going to be fancy. And we are going to put a light box right there. Actually, I like bringing them down a little bit so you can see the white on the bottom. We don't want to make it pretty. I'll probably move that later. So that's it. So that's our assets, right? That's pretty much all the assets that I've really been working with. Now, if I wanted to be safe, I would probably bring a pole in. They seem to come in handy when I'm trying to fit stuff. Boom. Boom, boom. Those are fun. That's it. I think there's another light pole though. I think I had other light poles. Actually, yeah, there was a cool East Coast light pole. If I type pole, yeah, there's some cool. I could do like an electric. Oh, oh, yeah. Careful when you're. Sometimes if you click and drag stuff, uh, it will actually lock up Beam and crash it. So saving. Let's get to that first step. Saving is super important. Oh my goodness, save, 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 baby. Save, baby, save, right? So we got the assets. What was that? Move that. So I'm going to turn on the lights, or the sun, because I can't see anything. I'm just going to check that. And, yeah. So, the goal is, I guess I can pause that. Let's pause. Pause an animation to a point and these crazy AI cars running around. Actually, it's kind of cool. You can like move them around. But so all I want to do, I'm just gonna do probably gonna do a time lapse here. I'm just gonna do a quick placement of all these things and see you when I'm done. All right, and there you have it. You have some lights. Kind of wanted to show you a couple cool little tricks. So I'm just doing like finesse work. This is finesse work. This is the when I make it. So basically, I deleted some decals earlier. Oddly, man, I have some weird glitchy issues with decals. I swear. I'm actually gonna restart the game. I think here. Issue with decals is so like you could see how I was deleting some line decals in the middle of the roads earlier. I swear that I had deleted those originally and saved it, but for some reason they were back. And I swear I deleted those, and now I think that these have disappeared. And I've had issues with disappearing decals that were still right there. Like if you look, see, yeah, see how that one's there, and now it's disappeared. So I'm actually going to restart the game, and I'm going to resume because I don't want to work if there's weird glitchy decal problems, if that makes sense. So general pro tips, I guess you could say. Yeah, you'll run into problems and things are just going to be buggy, and you don't want to work when things are buggy. So I'm actually going to save. I'll save 3 times and restart the game. All right, and we're back. As you can see, the decals are back as well. And so are the AI cars, for that matter. Ah, my goodness. Lovely, lovely days in BeamNG Drive. Once you know the things that can go wrong, you kind of like start putting the pieces together. Hopefully this video will, I don't know, shed some light. Maybe some people are struggling. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's gotten this far. I haven't been able to find any of this stuff out there. So I figured, hey, let's make a video. Let's make a tutorial, even though I've never done one before. Let's do that. Not really my thing, but I figured there was, if anything, 3 years from now when I forget how to do this, I can come back and watch this video and be like, oh yeah, that's how I did all that crazy stuff. But, alright. Let's try and resume where we left off, which was making that final intersection, so I was trying to explain that I was deleting decals because I was thinking I originally was going to do 2 lanes, but 2 lanes is difficult. I don't like 2 lanes. It's just too hard. There's no like signal arrows or nothing, none of that stuff without mods. So with vanilla content, it's usually ideal to have a single lane, And if you look at East Coast and West Coast, like all the intersections that have lights, they're really single lane intersections. So if you keep it simple, things will work. You know, it's immersive enough. You don't really have to deal with two lanes. Now, the reason why I say that is because I'm actually doing a 2-lane experiment. And we're going to throw that in on this crazy tutorial. But as the AI traffic compiles up and just does nothing. Is that what they would do in real life? I don't know. They're probably all shouting. There's no character model, so they're probably shouting at each other. What are you doing? What are you doing? But anyway, the theory is I'm going to do a 2-lane experiment with this stretch of road, which is just going to extend really from here. I'm going to fake it, probably delete those lines, and just do it right here. Just be simple about it. Everybody loves simplicity. Seems like that's... Especially AI loves simplicity too, you know? I respect it. But anyway, back to where we were, which I was building this beast. I'm just going to do a crazy idea. I was going to duplicate that. So if you hold shift and you drag, you basically can duplicate it. Just make sure you let go of shift. Otherwise, you're going to keep duplicating things, and you don't want things on top of each other. If you ever have a question, you can, you know, control Z or just move it around, but it looks pretty good. So if I hold shift and click everything, it makes one object, right? So hold shift, click everything. I forget what control click does. Anyway, it doesn't apply. I'm just going to tell you what I do. But shift click will make it a big fancy group, and it puts the origin kind of at like a medium point in between them all. So you can see the center arrow. Like if I drag the center, it kind of makes it. And then don't click snapping on terrain. That's going to jack it up, because for some reason it can't snap when you have multiple things selected. Like the origin is just messed up, so don't try that. We're going to leave terrain unchecked always, basically. Unless if I'm messing with one object, I will. You know, I'll throw that in real quick. So if I duplicate this, yeah, I'll mess with that. You know, I can do that. One object doesn't have a problem. I can snap that guy all day. But if I try and snap with everything like that, like multiple selections, that's going to give you a headache. Don't do that. So what we're going to do is basically place this. I'm going to hit number 2 on my number key here to flip it. So, oh, okay. So I just need to go like this. I'm going to flip these guys. Try and get them so they can be seen. Oh shit, see? Let me get that off. Snapping. Don't use snapping unless you know it's on and need it. Alright. I think I'm going to fast forward this. I said all I wanted to say. I wanted to also give you another tip. Don't scale things. If you use number 3, don't scale things. I mean, it's kind of going to be, I don't know, like hit or miss if you're going to break the collision on it. I don't scale things. I don't really see a need to scale them. If I have to scale something, like I will want to go through extensive testing to ensure that the collision isn't broken. Like, see this guy right here? Collision type. Collision mesh means that the object that's exported out of like your 3D software Blender has collision built into the mesh data. The DAE file I was explaining earlier, all that would have collision data built into it. If you went to Visible Mesh Final, it would basically take kind of you could try that. Like if you scaled something and, oh, now my collision isn't working, you could try Visible Mesh Final. But if you did that, it might, like your cars could stick to it in weird ways and could break the collision. It just could be weird. This decal type, that only affects the collision of the actual decal. Let me explain that for 1 second. So if I look at this field which says over objects, that will influence based, like if it's a collision, the decal collision decal type, that will influence, like if this was set to say none, you know, that would affect how decals go over it, essentially. So that's what that explains. So not really pertinent to what I was trying to explain before I trailed off, but just wanted to lay that out there. Don't scale things. That was the point. If you scale things with 3, you're gonna break stuff, and if you don't know how to fix it, don't cry. I don't know. It's crazy. Like the way, like I've tried making things in Blender and like exporting them, and you know have hit or miss results. So I'm not really sure what drives collisions besides the DAE. Like there could be core data that I don't know drives it, but I'm not gonna bother trying to investigate all that. So that's why I say just do what you know works, and yeah, don't scale things. Which brings me to my next point, which I'm gonna scale something, and it's gonna be, well, we'll see if it works. I'm gonna scale this pole because, I mean, you're never gonna hit the pole. If you do, whatever, you go through it. But for this simple intersection, which I'm only doing one of, I think I'm gonna scale just the pole a hair. Oh crap! I was holding shift. Control Z. Click the pole. I'm just gonna not hold shift and try to scale him. Oh, that's cool. So you can actually scale these poles, which is actually kind of neat. And if you notice of the pole, which is actually kind of cool how they designed this game, the origin is actually the center of where it tips. So if I wanted to do all this, it would basically rotate just around there. If I wanted to go up and down, it's super easy. I forgot to explain that earlier. But yeah, the origin's cool how they designed some of that. Just these are assets in the game, so the default position of the origin is super handy when you're trying to do crazy stuff like that. But you can actually scale this. So Control Z, if I go back, I'll scale. Right. So I want to animate all of this, right? That's like the goal of this entire video as the cars are about to explode next to me. We're going to do an incredible feat and animate some crazy traffic lights on a custom map using West Coast coding, I guess you could say. So here's the process. What I'm going to do, first step is I want to kind of think, alright, so this intersection right here, we're going to hit traffic manager. Let me bring that in over here. And the idea, don't need inspector. So what we're going to be using is mostly this. Gosh. Here, maybe I can delete him. There we go. Let me delete some of this. I might even just... Yeah, let me do that. That's actually way better. I don't know why I didn't think that earlier. I'm just going to kill the AI. Traffic, remove. Yeah, I'll save that later at a later date. I don't know why I didn't. Oh, that was very, very fun. Fun thing to be witnessing. It's gonna hurt more than it's gonna help at this point. Alright. Alright, so finally. It's a little more relaxing. You can hear. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry, guys. You know, this is my tutorial. Y'all are gonna learn a shitload, but y'all are gonna have to deal with my craziness for a minute. Because I'm gonna turn up the sound now. So y'all can hear my beautiful map. It's gonna go like this, my friends. We're gonna talk about it like this. Where was I? There we go. Oh yeah, the seagulls, man. I mean, how can you hate seagulls? But number one. Now, as far as like, we're gonna probably do one flow. Oh man, that guy's low. This gotta be like the same timer. All this stuff. It's gonna take a minute, guys, you know. Just freaking sit back, grab some coffee, come back to it. You know, this isn't like, oh, I could just make a map in 5 seconds. No, this is, man, I wish I was, I hate this poll. You know, that might bring me to my other poll, which is I'm glad I actually brought that in. You know, it's cool. So I'm going to actually bring that in. I'm going to hit Control Alt Click. So Control Alt Click, and it's going to pop that video right there. Control Alt Click, you know. Now, when you do that, Control Alt Click, it's actually going to snap to whatever level the terrain is, so it will affect rotation. Sometimes if you Control Alt Click on a weird incline, it's going to be a slant, see? But Control Alt Click for the millionth time, because you know how long it took me to find out that Control Alt Click snaps to that? It took me forever. So here it is. That's in this tutorial, if anybody ever hears about it. Anyway, I'm gonna manually adjust some of this. That's a cool pole. Oh, that wasn't the pole I was thinking of. Man, I was... Let me go borrow a pole from another spot. Where is it? This guy. Oh, no. Oy vey. This guy, right? Just copy him. Yes, him. Wherever he is. I don't even know what folder he's in, but he's there. Anyway, I'm going to delete that other pole and do Control Alt Click that guy. That's gone. So, he is huge. My word. A little bigger than I thought he was going to be. What happened? Jeez. Anyway, let me just match him up. Alright, looks pretty good. Matched up. I think I'm just going to drive him into the ground so the top... Oh. So the... Why is it off-centering? That's weird. Anyway, I was just going to drive him and make him shorter. Let me delete this guy. Wait, is that the main pole? Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm going to keep the old pole. Yeah, I'll just keep him. Oh no, that's the old pole by itself. I mean, it's hard managing multiple assets sometimes because I'm not aware of a way to join them together in game. I've heard of ways you might be able to join them, but if anybody knows of a way that ever sees this video, man, I'd love to know. Like how to join assets, like a pole to another object. How can I join these two? Make it all one permanent object. So if I click this, it selects them all. That's what I would want, but anyway. Just keep trailing off. Just so much. Anyway, so I'm trying to get rid of that other pole, which is already gone. The other pole's gone, so that looks pretty good. I don't know if it's good, but maybe it should go left a little. Looks a little weird. So we're just gonna leave it like that. And I think our assets are finally done, even though I said they were done like 20 minutes ago. The assets are done, as far as I can tell. Alright, let's get back to the animations, folks. Jeez. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is I want to set them all to dynamic. So I want to click like this guy. If I bring my inspector window in, dynamic is not checked by default for some reason. I don't know. So they're all going to have to be set to dynamic. So what I'm going to do is basically, you can do them one by one, or if I did multiples, like let's say I just did one intersection. And sometimes they're hard to tell if you actually have selected them all. So I'm going to hit dynamic and make sure this is checked, which that seems to be checked by default. I don't have to change anything else, but I do want to go individually, make sure that they're all dynamic. Sometimes it's quicker just to do one at a time. See, that's dynamic with the checkbox. That's dynamic. You want just dynamic and use instant render color data checked, which is already checked. So we're going to apply that to these guys. I could just do dynamic, dynamic, one at a time, I mean. But that's for the birds. Nobody wants to sit here all day and check dynamic boxes. But that's what we're going to have to do, man. If you want to make a good map, you check dynamic boxes all day long. Like this guy, dynamic. Boop, boop, boop. It's really not that bad. I'm just going to do all four of them. Dynamic. Quick check. Dynamic. Dynamic. Everything. Dynamic. And one more. Da, 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 da. Dynamic. And that is that. And we're good, I think. Check them all. Check them all. Alright. Save. Save, save, baby. Save. I think we're making good progress. So now, if you look at one, you can kind of tell like what's driving it. So this, you know, red, yellow, green. But when I want to time them, I have to go here. So traffic manager. Going to be hitting the traffic signs. I'll bring that over. Just shrink this a little bit. So I'm going to also hit the advanced editor, which loves to disappear the original window, I think. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But that's not important. Anyway, if I close that window to get back to the original window, see, now it comes back. Traffic lights, this window is this window. So anyway, we're going to be doing, so I'm going to do new. Now, I kind of briefly touched on this before. Originally, I had roughly 11 instances that I used to get this set of intersections working, which, let's see if they're still working or if they broke already. Remember, I copied the file over, which I'll show you here. So these should be unaffected, which I guess they are working still, which is awesome. Proves my whole thing that I'm not an idiot. But anyway, if I go to don't worry about that green arrow. I think that has only to do with the AI traffic, not for the animations. As far as my testing, I don't think that has to do with anything except for how the AI handles the light, essentially the light instance. But as far as getting the animation script to work, that's really all this is about. So when I added all of these, instance 1, if I click it, you can see where my instance is here. So yeah, see, so instance 1 you can tell is already assigned to these, which I haven't tested it enough to know if any changes. If I add one to that, is it going to affect anything? So for the sake of argument, I'm just going to add new instances on top of the ones I know exist. So I'm going to start at 12, I'm going to start at 12 to kind of set up this new intersection. Now I could probably just go in and add objects to this traffic instance. See how these objects are tied? 1, 2, and 3. Those are tied to this instance. So I could go over there and add the new lights to this instance, but because I kind of spent a while just setting this up, I don't want to disturb this. So since I know adding all of these instances after they're set up and the file has been migrated, I know that that stays working after the restart of the game. I don't want to disturb that. So I'm just going to add to what I know exists. So I know I had 11 instances before. What I'm going to do is actually create a new instance. So you see 12. What I'm going to do, see, so 1, 2, see how that yellow arrows will show me? Oh, 2 actually doesn't have any instances on it. I was farting around, fumbling around, so I actually didn't have anything on 2. But anyway, 3 has instances. I just want to basically assign this new intersection to a set that doesn't have anything on it. And I know 2 doesn't have anything on it, so I might use 2, but like for the sake of the tutorial, 12 doesn't. I know 12 doesn't, but 2 was kind of acting weird. That's why I had to use it. I created a new one to get this light working right here. But anyway, so we're just, for the sake of the tutorial, which is like already jumbled, we're going to basically create a new instance in this traffic lights menu. We're just going to basically assign this new intersection to that instead of, so in your map, I guess you would basically call that instance 1 for more or less purposes for your testing. So we'll say, yeah, this is instance 1, I guess. Anyway, so properties, you have 2 sequences that I've ever used on these maps. Now the other 2, I think, just have longer delays, or the other sets, but 1 and 2 is what I'm going to use. So for like going this way, we'll have primary. For this way, it's secondary, and the crosswalks will be basically attached to that, so it's not that hard to figure out. Once you do a few, you'll get it. But so 12, I want to hit 12. What I want to do, so let's make 12 this south gimmick here. So plus, click. So now you can see 12 is on that bad boy. So if I hit play, immediately you can see it's working. Like the timer's working, right? So that's going to be your first battle. The timer's working, but when you restart the game, it's not going to save. Oh, why is it not saving? Well, I'll get to that. But I just want to set these up, and we're going to kind of go through that. But man, this is going to be a long tutorial. But anyway, you can see the traffic's like working. Like, who has a tutorial where, oh, the traffic light is working? Nobody. So yeah, anyway. But well, let's do the crosswalks. But let me do some math and figure it out, and I'll come back. Before I do anything, I'm going to come back. So let me just kind of go over the thought process, which isn't really that hard to think about. So if that's green, you're going to have to be rough about it. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but if that's green, traffic's flowing this way. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but traffic's flowing this way for green. So if I have traffic flowing that way, this is going to be green. So we're going to be basically matching that green on the same signal. So all I have to do is say, here, instance. I'm going to say plus, boom, plus, boom. So now both of those are assigned to that instance. I'm actually going to do the same for these. Plus, boom, plus, boom. So in theory, if I hit play, they work. So that's 12. So I think I'm going to do 13 now, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do for 13 is I'm going to change this to secondary. So let's go ahead and just create a new instance. So new instance right here, 13. And what I'm going to do is figure out which lights go on that, which is just the other ones, right? So this one, let's start here. I'm going to just do plus. Boom. And we'll just even hit play so you can see it working. And then, man, I hope this is recording, but whatever. And I'll do another plus boom on the matching signal crosswalks. So, oh, I got it. Let's do this one. Plus, I'll do this guy up here. So see, I did this light. I don't know if you can see that. So I want this. Man, it's gonna be the worst tutorial ever, but man, I hope somebody finds information out of this. But I promise you, at the end, it'll work. I'm just using 12 and 13. Those are my two instances for this intersection. You know, I can combine multiple intersections, but under this, like two instances, but it would be confusing, and I'm not sure about the scripting of the file, which I have to show you next, but I just want to show you before we save and like reboot the game. Let's get the intersection working, and then I'll show you the final step before we actually close the game. So if I save and relaunch the game, what I would have to do to get this all working again, without moving the file over, is I would have to basically hit new 13 times to spawn all of these. And if I didn't move the file over and it wasn't working, I would have to make sure I went back and set every instance to the correct property sequence. So like primary or secondary. So like if I went and I saw two intersections that had green lights and then red lights at the same timing, it's because I went and spawned new instances and I didn't actually migrate the file over, which is the final part of this video. But if you've ever ran into that, that's why, you know, when you relaunch the game, that's why you'll see like weird issues, is if you don't migrate the file. And if you just simply relaunch the game without migrating the file and respawn all these instances, and like they work, you hit play, but they work and the timing's off, well, it's because you didn't go back to the property sequence and change it over for that instance. So now another example to show you is if I hit the advanced editor and then I do a file save. So if I file save, it says signals saved, right? And you're going to think to yourself, oh, that should write over the main signals files, but that's not enough for some reason. That doesn't write all of the information, so I don't know. I haven't figured out that piece yet, but I'm going to show you enough to get you how to get traffic lights on your map, however long it takes. Man, I wish there was a way to organize this better, but I'm going to try and be as comprehensive going forward as I can. So I'm going to close this window. We don't need that. We just need to work with this for right now. All we're going to try and do from where we left off is set these on the same timer. So this guy, and you can hit this. If you hit this, it kind of bounces the camera to what's assigned to it. So that kind of helps. It's a little janky, but you can see the arrows. That helps the most. And don't worry about the green arrows. You can, if you hold shift and hit click, it will move the green arrow, but that is just for AI traffic. So that has no bearing on creating the animations, which is what we're talking about. I'm not talking about AI traffic. That's a whole different universe, which is tied into this via the control click and moving these arrows so they follow that, as far as I understand, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get everybody to understand how to get lights, beautiful traffic lights and beautiful crosswalks working on your map. That's all I'm trying to do. Whether or not the AI runs into them, whether or not they run the red lights, that's not my concern. My concern is the beautiful lights. So yeah, we're going to do this. So instance 12 and 13. 13 is primary. No, it has to be secondary. Remember that? I talked about that earlier. I moved that to secondary. Instance 13 is secondary. And 12 is primary. So 12 and 13 are the ones I'm working with. If you're working on a map, you might be looking at 1 and 2 for your first intersection. So that's the kind of the name of the game. Hopefully someone's beginning to learn a pattern here. Hopefully I'm generating a pattern, you know. But anyway, I want to do, let me do, so I have to do actually this. I need to add these two to 12 for my example. So I'm going to click plus and then click. We're going to click plus and then click this guy. So now, if I hit play, those are on the same timer. So 12, this is appearing to be good except for maybe the crosswalks. This is good except for that. So let me see these two. Which ones so when you're green, I'm just gonna say if these are green, that's green. So 12, you're gonna be 12. So if I hit plus, I say 12 plus 12, you're there. So we're gonna play you. So if you're a green light, you should be a green light. Yep. Is this gonna even cycle? I don't even know if this is gonna work. I hope this works. What's up with the timing? It seems like it's really long. Okay. You always say that when you're waiting for it, right? Yellow, red. Okay, now you switch. So that's what we want. I think we got you going. I mean, as you can see, it's kind of coming together. So I think I'm ready to get to the last part of the video. Unless I missed something. Oh, maybe I gotta do you. Plus. Make sure I'm on instance 12. Plus sign. Hit the bottom left. Let me get in on them. Make sure I don't click the wrong thing. Plus is highlighted, so click the left crosswalk and then plus again. Click the right. So if I hit play again, you see them working. So you are golden. You are golden. You're going to be on 2, I feel like. So, you know, you get a pattern going. So here, I'm just going to speed it here. So we're going to say I'm adding you. We're going to do plus sign you. And then I'll even do, you make sure you're good. Plus you and plus you. Let's hit play. So they're working, they're working. Everybody seems like we're in order. I don't think I missed anything. Sometimes you just gotta slow down and, like, you know, if it's not working, just don't close the game, walk away. Which is actually what I'm gonna do now. Because we're pretty much done. The only thing we gotta do is we gotta look at a JSON file. It's not that hard. I'll show you. But anyway, I just want to make sure everything's golden, baby. Got that golden goose intersection, right? Everybody's going to be following all the traffic rules at this intersection without a question, right? No problems. So here's what I do want to do. I want to hit save on the level. And then I want to also open the advanced editor and hit file, save signals. And these are, believe it or not, 2 different actions. These 2 different things. Just because you save the level doesn't mean it's going to save the update the signal file. So, you know, I'll save the level after I save the traffic signal editor. So let me show you that. So let's get to it. We're going to get to the script file, which is super easy. Looks hard, but it's not. Now, the key to all of this is making backups. Make a backup of your original because it will save you so much time if you mess up. Sometimes it just takes a few tries to figure out the right combination if you're trying to make a map. You know, again, this video is only for people that are serious about trying to make a map with working traffic signals. Yes, let me see here. So what I want to do is pull this over. This is my little backup folder I made. And we're going to look at, I want to show you East Coast. I want to show, this is basically, so when you first start, to to get the signals, before you even do all of this, like the first thing you should really be doing is probably going to East Coast, levels, East Coast. Look for this signals file. This guy right here, that guy is gonna be pasted into your main. Let me just go to my main so I can show you. Here's my main folder. So in the main root directory, there's a signals file. Before you start adding any traffic lights, it's probably a good idea just to add the East Coast signal file. But when you add the file, before you just plop it into your root directory, make sure you go into it with Notepad. Well, actually, I would do this. Copy the file first so you don't disturb the original directory. It's best practice. Paste it somewhere, then edit it. So now you're working with a fresh version and the original is in place. So what I do is I just take the controllers only. We don't want the instances in the original signals file. So I'm going to basically create a file like this. I'm just going to go like this. So I can see when I look at it, the n square bracket before the final squiggly. Let's see if that closes it. I don't know if that needs to be there. So I think it needs a square bracket after the squiggly. So if I delete that, what I would do is I would basically delete this and leave it a closing square bracket. So that way it looks like this. So my original file would be saved, Control S, save it. This is my original signals file, more or less what it would start as. Using only the controller stuff. And that will give me a baseline within my signals editor. And then you'll take this file and place it into the main root directory of your map. Just to give you a baseline timers to work with. Once that's in place, then so that brings me, well, I don't want to say it wrong because, man, I mean, again, it's going to take you a few tries to figure it out, because when I first made my first signals work, the way they worked was I went like this. So I have a main signal file here, right? What I did was I got them working by, I did file. So we're actually going to do that now so I can update what I'm working on here so it saves to my map permanently. So I'm going to do file, save that, that's the signals, but I want, actually, sorry, close that, my bad. I need to go to this window. This little box right here, this guy is the key. So I'm going to keep that open. We're going to go save session. This file right here, or this box, if I do save session, that's going to bring me right here. I'm just going to save it into my main directory, which you can see I have another one. File name, I'll just call it Arena Enter. Naming doesn't matter for this point. So I'm going to say Arena intersection. I'm going to save that in the main. So if I save that, let's go to my main directory real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. I know this is going to be over the head of like 99% of the people, but BeamNG Drive, common, no, it's not that one. It's actually your app data. So if I go to my main levels, go to your BeamNG Drive latest, that's where I saved it anyway. Where is it? Alright, I gotta stop talking and think. That's weird. I didn't create a group. Let me go back to that. That's weird. It's not saving properly. Another glitchy issue. Let me see if I can figure this out, and I will come back. Alright, so yeah, the file is not saving. Appears to be a bug, so I had to restart the map. So I restarted the map, and as you can see, the lights are frozen now with their old, default animation or whatever. So I just got to do something real quick. If you have to restart, like, if that's not saving, what I have to do is basically set up that thing again. So like I said before, we're just going to do this. Now, in my case, I only have to worry about 12 and 13, hopefully. So if I hit 12, see, the arrows are still there. 13, the arrows are still there. So all I have to do is make sure 13's on secondary. I'm going to hit play. I'm going to hit play. They should work again. It's not that hard to redo, but I need to make sure that they're working and that the instance saves again. So let me try that. Bear with me. Okay, that's cycled. So I was looking at the crosswalk. That's what I was looking at. I was looking at the crosswalk, but why is that? That's messed up. Why is that messed up? 13. What's 13? Let me just make sure those are assigned. Maybe that's a... Just make sure that all of these are working before I say anything. And then I'm going to save. So the idea is that if I hit save, that should save a file, but let's see. Let me just do that as a test then before I do anything else. Test 1, 1, 2. Where's that gonna go? So I did get them to work by doing this. Just in the advanced editor, file, save. It saved the signals, whereas before I had to do that, save, and then it would create a file. Here's the original file that created. And you can see in Notepad, originally I had to copy and paste all of this to my main signals file, which now looks like this. But before, it was not saving, it was not updating the signals file in my main level folder. Whereas now it is, for some reason. So now when I restart the game, my traffic lights work. So in my intersection here, you can see all I did was restart the game, I didn't do any merging of files or anything. I just restarted the game after saving it, and this signal file right here is updating by the traffic manager, which is what I wanted initially. So I combined the two signal files together. I got the lights to stay persistent, but then I could no longer save session. When I tried to save session, it would never create the JSON file in the directory I was trying to create it in. For all intents, it was just never creating the file. And then I noticed this error message, which I was not noticing before. So I'm thinking that somehow me combining the two signal files where I got it to work, now I can't save the session, but it is saving the signals and updating the signals file in my main root directory, which is what I wanted it to do originally. So now all I have to do is file save signals from that big dialog box, and it will correctly save, so I can restart the game and it'll work. I don't have to do any manual migrations of script files anymore at this point. So I'm not really sure how it got to this point, but either way, the error message that I'm now getting when I do save session, I wanted to show you, is getting this callback failed string extensions editor traffic editor. It says attempt to index local prefab is nil value. I don't know what that means. I've tried selecting multiple objects and saving the session. I've tried different things to save the session. So I can't create a JSON from the traffic manager and save session anymore, but it does save and update the signals file. So I'm good. It's working. Sorry, I pre-recorded the video, so I'm kind of talking after I had done something new. But anyway, so I have another intersection I'm working on. See this, so this one you can see the lights are not set up. So just to kind of reiterate what I had done, I kind of wanted to do a new intersection, which I'm hoping to be quicker. It'll kind of go through quicker. So I'm just hitting the new button basically 14, 15, 16 times, because all I'm doing is creating the instances here. It shouldn't affect any of the existing animations because that's all being driven by the signals file, which is in place and working. So when I create all these instances, I'm just trying to make room for two more to set up this new intersection. That's all I'm trying to do. Because I'm going to have the one instance on primary, and then the second one will be on secondary for the sequence phase here. So, and you can see when I'm clicking 12 and 13, the yellow arrows will show what's currently assigned to that instance. That's using the signals file data. So it's like when you create new instances, you can create 16 new instances, and the ones you've already assigned will still be retained in memory, but it doesn't appear that you can change them. Now, if you do remove them from the list, I wouldn't do that. That's why when I create a new instance, if I create a new intersection, when I create a new intersection, I want to set up two brand new instances for that intersection, because I don't want to disturb or mess up what I've already set up on the previous instances. So I'm going to leave that in place, and we're just going to set up two brand new ones. Like I said before, for you, it could be 1 and 2, it could be 5 and 6. It's hard to say what your number scheme of mine looks like. 14 and 15 will be what I'm going to be assigning to this new intersection. So as I go through, I'm hoping that this is kind of be digestible, but after you do it a few times, I think you'll get it. Or if anybody's even watching this. But just kind of going along with the video here. So I'm playing the animation. I had just assigned each light like we did before. And now I'm making sure that they're dynamic. I had an issue. When I put them in, none of them were set to dynamic. So I'm going through each object and I'm setting them to dynamic. The dynamic checkbox was unchecked, so I'm just checking it. Checking that. So I'm adding, I hit the plus sign. Every time you added an object to an instance collection, you have to hit the plus, then click the object. So if you want to do a second object, plus, and then click the object, and then you'll see the yellow arrows show up. Plus, I click the traffic, plus, click the crosswalk, plus, click a new crosswalk, plus sign, click another crosswalk, plus sign, click another traffic light, and then you'll see the groups kind of build. The inspector ID number will be showing up underneath the plus and minus signs. That'll be reflective of what's actually in that group. You can also look at the advanced editor, and it will also show you that information, which, like I said before, is just window gameplay, same dialog box. So one box kind of does one thing. This box lets you control, like this is what the box I go in mostly when I'm setting them up. So plus sign, click the light, added it to the group. See how I'm doing it? 14 and 15 are kind of on, 14's primary, 15 should be secondary on the signal. That way they have the opposite timings. Same with the crosswalks. Rinse and repeat kind of thing. I'm just duplicating here. Just setting them up. You can tell they're not assigned every time you duplicate them. They lose their animation, so you have to, it'll create a new ID for the object. So if you duplicate an object, you have to do the instance assignment for that. So plus sign and click that object. See how they're not animating? That's because I just duplicated them. Or sometimes it's kind of janky. Sometimes it's kind of buggy. It's just something you just dive into and do it enough, and eventually things start working. You can save, and it'll work in your map. So after assigning them, they won't animate until you press play. That one wasn't playing because every time you duplicate it, I think it loses its dynamic checkbox as well. So you'd have to make sure they're all set to dynamic. That's why it's kind of nice to stage them first. This intersection I did wrong. The previous one I did correct. This one I just kind of like went as I went along. You could tell half of them were dynamic. It took me a lot longer than it should have for this guy. But if you stage your intersection, set them all to dynamic, then start messing around with your traffic manager and adding them, then it's usually the best way. Just checking my assignments, making sure everything is working. I could tell some of these aren't actually working yet. That's not working, so I'm trying to figure that out here. Plus sign, click, plus sign, click. I'm realizing that they're not actually added, so plus sign, click. Those two would match. Those are two on the same signal. It's a crosswalk. Pretty easy to understand. This is going to be a lot longer tutorial than it really should be, but at least you guys are seeing it. This is how it works, and you'll just apply this to everything. But clicking that, make sure it's dynamic. Dynamic. That's not dynamic. Make it dynamic. Yep. And I think sometimes if you press play and then make them dynamic, they'll just start animating. Other times you have to press play. If you press play, it starts the cycle over, so your red lights might turn green, that kind of thing. I think green is the start of the cycle. But this intersection, I think, is wrapping up, so I think I'm going to move on to the next stage, which is actually just simply saving the file. So before I had to migrate files, now I just hit File, Save. You see Signals is saved. And that will update my main Signals file, whereas it didn't originally. So now it is, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. You'll see, I'll show you the file here in a minute, which will have the auto light instance, and then the number, you'll see entries in the file. So here's me trying to save the session like I was explaining. I'm creating just a file name, what the WTF, to where is the file? I can't find it. It's never saving. I'm pretty sure I'm looking in the correct directory, but in this instance, or in this example, it doesn't want to save the JSON. So I'm forced to just hit File, Save, and that's my solution. This is just me showing you that it's not working, which would basically yield that error message I showed earlier. So here's my signals file. that is correctly updating. Let me see if I show it here. Just go into the main or the app data local root directory. Where am I going here? I think I'm looking for something. Bear with me. I'm just trying to show where it gets to the main signal file updating. I'll show you the script, what it looks like if I get my stuff together here. 14, 15. What am I looking for? Oh, okay. So here's the signals file. This is what it updates automatically. And you can see auto light sequence 3, 2, auto light sequence 1. There's auto light instance 13. So in this example, you can see my new intersection is not actually updating. So see, I'm looking for 14 and 15, and I don't see it. So if I restart this game, those lights are going to go back to their default state, and they're not going to actually work. So what I have to do, because it wasn't updating the signal file in my main root directory, I just simply had to restart the game, which I'm doing now. I'm going over to that intersection, and I'm just going to do a quick run through of what you have to do when you restart the game, just to get the intersection back to a state where you can try and save it again. Because apparently, if it fails the first time to update the signal file, I just restart the game, set it all up, do the file save, and then voila, my signal file is updating. So you can see my lights are just static, they're not actually animating. So if I go here, I hit the new button 16 times. I'll go through that, new, hit new, all the way down. And the new lights that I assigned will still show up. See the yellow arrows? Now I need to check, I'm going to have to change the number 15. The number 15 auto light instance needs to be set to secondary. That's my only thing I need to fix now. See how 14 is primary, 15 needs to be secondary. See? But when I made this video at this moment, I didn't realize that, so I'm going to actually see. There we go. Secondary. So that's secondary, and if I press play, they should work. Yep, I think they're working. So now, it's just basically me trying to save that session again. Another example of it not actually saving. It yields an error but doesn't save. I always tried to save it, the session in these cases, but that was not working. But doing file save from the advanced editor does update the signal file. That's just me trying to create a new folder. I was hoping that creating a new folder and then saving it would yield a fresh JSON signals file, but in like another directory, but still is not showing up anywhere. I can't get it to save. So this is, I think I'm looking for it now. Now I'm looking for it. I'm showing you that it's not there. Showing you the new folder I made. It's empty. So it's not saving that file, but again, for the 15th time, my signal file is updating, so that's cool. I just trying to find a common thread between why it was forcing me to save the session and then migrate the two files versus now it updates the signal file, so I don't know. But anyway, so to get this to stay persistent, instead of saving via that method, what I'm going to do is go to the advanced editor. We're going to do file save. You'll see it says signals saved. Now in theory, I'm going to go look at my main signals file, and I'll show you the updated entries. So here is my new signals file, and this is the one where it says signal saved. I hit file save, signal saved. This is the main signals.json, and you can see now those instances are now there. So if I know that if I restart the game, those lights will stay working. So that's kind of what you need to look at if you are at this point. and it's not working, that file needs to get updated with those entries in order for it to stay persistent. So I'm hoping I covered everything. Um, that's pretty much it. As my cat, yeah, meows in the background. Oh boy. So that's it. I guess that's it. So now if I restart my game, after seeing the signal file has the correct instance entries in it, reflecting 15, 16, or whatever numbers I'm assigning, everything should just work. Oh, this is actually a new intersection I made last night. That might not be working. I haven't finished it. I think I have to save that one more time. Seems like it's like you have to do it twice. I don't know why. Let's see if this is the one I just showed. Let's see if this is working. Let's see. Yeah, so this is working. So this one took me 2 attempts. I just had to save, and it didn't update the signal file. I restarted the game, and then redid this part. You know, new. Did all that, and then I went to the advanced file, save, and then it did update the signal file. So last night I did a new test. I did a new test with a brand new intersection, and I was too late. I was too tired, so I just saved it once and closed the game. And you can clearly see it's not working, so I'm going to have to do that process again and just simply, you know, create them again and do this. Make sure that the latest ones, which is probably, I could go more, I can go 17, let's see, 17, 16. So 16, 17 are the ones, I'm just going to have to redo that, but if I hit play, actually make sure that's secondary. Make sure 16 is primary, hit play on both. So now in theory, if I hit this file, save, I'm going to save the map, and then I'll take a gander at the signals file and see if it's there. So now here's the new signals.json right here. And you can see 15. Let's see if I have what am I looking for? 16, 17 I'm looking for. 16, 17. There's 15. Is it still not updating it? I might have to do it one more time, see? Some reason it just doesn't update it every time, but anyway. That's how it does it. I'll try and save it again maybe. I don't know why it doesn't want to update that file now. Try it a bunch of times maybe, I don't know. I don't know what makes it not save it, but anyway. Maybe I have to maybe this is the common thread. So if I do save session and I just try and give it a test name, maybe if I do that, and then let's see, file save, does it update my signal file now? Let me see, search for 16. No, it's not there. So I'm going to have to restart the game one more time and just do that again. Let's see if that works. Okay, so somehow, I don't know, I did it again and now I have 16 and 17. So basically you'd be looking at, I mean, you could probably maybe duplicate this information manually. I'm sorry, it's not something I've ever tried to do, but if you go from, so if you look at this, where is it? So let me find 17 again. So Autolite instance 17. I mean, I know it'll work. I was just trying to see if there's a way to manually maybe scrape some of this stuff. So like from here all the way to here, that might be duplicatable, But so controller ID, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe you can't manually agree. Either way, if you save the signals file, save it, and you see the new entries like this group, and then this is the other group. Like if that shows up, but see that looks different. That might, I don't know. Either way, as long as these lines show up, that reflects Autolight Instance 17 and 16. Then now I know. Now these animations will stay. Took me a couple times, but let's try it. New intersection. Check it out. What are they doing? Oh, there's yellow, green. That's green. Oh, that's red. Let me just make sure that turns green for you guys. Just so I know it's working. Now, I don't know. AI is stopping, but no, that's not stopping. Oh, maybe because the stop sign's there. And now that's green. So that's green. So the the animations are actually working now, with the signal file being updated. And that's it. On a final note, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they. I wonder if like the stop controllers are built into the stop signs. But anyway, I hope you guys learned something. If you have any questions, let me know. I tried to make it as thorough as I could. I know that's a lot of information, but once you start playing with it, you'll really get it. I think there's a lot cool stuff you can do, man. I'm excited to see some custom maps with some cool traffic lights. Vanilla traffic lights, even. So, no mods. Alright, guys. See you later.